Hello everyone, this is my video for how to use an RC controller to control like your robots and like how to get like the motors to turn. So just for a reference, this is the controller we're using. We're using the Flysky FS-I6X, and basically allows it so we can communicate to our Arduino without having a cable connected to it. So like I know for uploading your code, you would have like a wire attached to like the Arduino directly in your computer. But if we have this RC controller, it has a way to communicate towards the Arduino, where you don't have to connect it to your computer. So it makes it easier for your robot to go and to drive places and stuff like that. And I just want to walk through like basically some of the stuff. So we have like 6 channels on this thing. This should be on your breadboard for your robots. So this will basically allow it. So these are like 2 antennas that uses to communicate with the controller, and we have we have like 6 channels. Each channel corresponds to like one aspect of like the controller. For the sake of our tutorial, we're using channel 1 and channel 2, as controls this joystick, and we're going to use that to move the robot up and down and left and right. Hello, to give a quick demonstration of how the code works, you can see that this is like the setup with all the pins, and you can see that this module has like different channels connected to the breadboard. And you can see that these are the 2 motors we'll be using. Ignore the third one, that's like a different motor. And if you use the controller, this is the controller we're using, and we're moving up and down. So this is channel 1, channel 1 is sideways, so it goes the opposite direction, so your motor can move left and you can move to the right. And then we have forward, so that you can see the robot is going the same direction, upwards for going forward, and this is going down for downwards. So yeah, that's basically the code and how it basically works on a robot. And to show some of the code, so to outline it pretty simply, like this article over here outlines everything pretty well also for German Bot Workshop, and I will send that link on Discord. And to outline some of the stuff, so like we have like we initialize like the motors and also like their phases, as each motor has their own phase to control if it's like going negative or positive direction, and like left, like to go forward or backward basically. And that for the channels, like for the sake of our for our circuit, we have it outlined so like each controller, like the one for like this sensor, we have each of those channels connected to a certain pin on our Arduino. And these are just initializing some of the variables to see like the values obtained from these channels on the controller. And yeah, so to put it simply, like I know it looks like a lot, it basically reads the number from like a specific channel. So like this is the method to read the certain value that comes from the channel. So like if I were to pull up like the Arduino code and stuff like that, it'll basically like say like whatever like the controller is like the joystick is like down, it'll go on like to like negative 100, and then positive will be like positive 100. And then for the read switch, it basically reads like the switch values. For our tutorial, we didn't really use that, so you don't have to worry about that as much. And basically for the setup is like what you first run for the Arduino, right? So we have the pin modes. So basically like it'll set each channel to be like its own, to be an input, as like you're taking in data, not putting the data out. So it'll be input for each of the channels. And for the loop, you see that we're reading from the channels, and we're using the method we created over here to read the data from these values. And yeah, after you do that, and for channel 6 is a switch, but like we didn't really use that. We only use like 1 and 2 in this case. So it goes from negative 100 to positive 100 for its values. And you can see that we're going to use like the different channel values over here. So basically for the joystick, if it's greater than 8, the reason why I set it to 8, so I'm going to explain myself, is that because like since for the joystick, like you don't want, like you could make it so it's like, oh, it has to be precisely 0 to stop, right? But like if you like accidentally move it like a little bit, like to like 1 or 2 or something, and like it just like stops in that position. You don't want it to continue to run and like you're trying to like put it perfectly at 0, right? So the reason why I put it at 8 is that it could be like any number. It could have been like 10 or something. I just put 8 just because like when I put up the plotter over here, I just like said, oh, it could be like a little bit over here. So like I'll put it like 8 or something. So when it's 8, it will stop, and I have that like all the way over here. So basically it makes it so if it's equal to 8, it'll just stop the motors. And so to outline like each like if statement, so like if the channel is greater than 8, which means that channel 2 is what makes it go forward. Like if you look in the joystick, it will go forward if it's a positive number. So in that case, I set it so like the motor, which is in our case, it's like motor 3, and motor 2 is like the ones controlling the wheels. We have it so that it will basically take in this value and write it to the motor to go to that value. And to explain what map does, it basically changes this, because like right now it's from 0 to 100 as like it's like values, and then like the opposite direction is like negative 100, right? But we want it so that it can go like the maximum like speed. Like you don't want your robot to go like super slow to like only 100 speed when the max is like 255. So we just like set it to like 230. So it's like the new channel value is like from 0 to 230 rather than 0 to 100. And we basically set high and low to make it like basically like the same direction for the motors, to because you want both motors to be moving forward, and you don't want one of them to like change. And like we have the same process over here. The only difference is this is negative 100 since it's going. You're seeing if this is less than negative 8, so you want to go the opposite direction. And to change the direction, like I said earlier, you would interact with the faces of digital write, and just make this the opposite, so it can go like the opposite direction. And this is like a really big else statement. So we're basically saying if it's not like greater than 8 and it was not less than negative 8, in that range, you want to like do something else. And like on our joystick, right, we have forward, backward, and we also have left and right. And for left and right, you want it to be like you want to make it so like you don't go forward and go left and right. You want it to do like left and right, or you want it to do forward and backward. So this is what the case is. Like basically, if your joystick is not forward or backward, it's just like in the middle. If the channel 1, which is channel 1 is like the left and right of the joystick, if it's like 8, it'll go like to the left, so you go low, low. Because like when you're doing like a robot and you want to move to the left, right? You want the motors to move in opposite directions. So like this one, you set it so it's like the opposite. So one of them is gonna be low, and one of them's gonna be staying low. So it'll go like opposite ways, and that's the same process for here where we set it to high, high. And yeah, that's basically the process. And these are just a bunch of print statements just to like test out the code. But yeah, that's basically how the code works.